Hey, I wanted to get on and share something really quick that's been my experience and that I felt called to share today, very much propelled to do so. And that is the topic of embodied knowledge and how to release or let go of your own past, especially the past stories that we keep on a loop, keep replaying. So this information I came across experimenting with psychedelics. I got really into heavy usage of psychedelics over the last few years, starting around, I want to say around 2013, 2014. And one of the biggest messages that came through under psychedelics, as many people experience, was the topic of embodied knowledge. And what that refers to, what that means, is that we've been living our lives in accordance to our beliefs, and our beliefs are embodied knowledge. Now, how this tends to play out is in, let's say, for example, let's use myself as an example. I grew up with a very, in like a neglectful a word. I grew up going through a lot of neglect, a lot of abandonment issues, a lot of self-esteem and self-worth issues therefrom, and the experiences that I went through, and especially after, in all the years that I've been researching trauma and how trauma plays out, one of the biggest things that has stuck out is that when we go through a traumatic or formative memory, the body, the mind, the brain, the emotions take a kind of snapshot, especially physically, of what's going on in the moment. And so what's going on in the moment, let's say if it's a traumatic or formative moment, especially the former, there's usually there's a lot of presence, and so a later point has to deal with presence, and being able to be present and being able to be grateful in presence. One of the biggest obstacles to that has to do with that embodied knowledge of being safe in the present moment. Because during those moments, let's say for myself, of going through that trauma, there's like kind of a flinch, right? Like the body tends to try to protect the spine, the nervous system, and especially around the groins. There's the psoas muscles, what are also called the trauma muscles. And so these tend to tense or hold. And so that's kind of like the psychology aspect of it. The energetic aspect of it is how we tend to hold onto certain experiences to help us define our relationship to reality, to ourselves, to those around us, to the world around us, to how the world, the universe, etc. works. And so we can navigate and survive best, and hopefully thrive according to our experiences. And so with embodied knowledge, one of the biggest points that I feel like I'm here to deliver is staying present, using your hands, your ability to feel sensation in your body, and and holding, maintaining awareness over certain parts of your body, and seeing, observing what comes up, what surfaces, in terms of memory, imagery, emotion, sensation. It can vary kind of wildly, but just to give you a few things to look out for, the body releases stress through trembling. So trembling is one of the biggest things that can come up. And the reason for that is because the body needs to be in a rest or digest, in a safe state of being to release that stress, unless it's so overwhelming that it just starts releasing stress in the moment. But what helps to really, really, really let go of our past is, let's say, one of the most traumatic experiences and memories that I have is of my mom grabbing my love handles and like digging her nails in and picking me up, like moving me around. And so if I place my hands on my love handles, I become more aware of that general area, and I then become aware of, if I want to, if I choose to, of sensations around this part right here, and this right here is our heart center, our heart space, where we hold and process a lot of emotions, but where we process a lot of emotions as well, like our emotional centers, is around our solar plexus. That's one of the key areas that I focus on in healings. And so if you notice there, I took my hands off my love handles. In part, you could say because I got distracted, but I was also distracting myself so that I could veer away from the topic and from the emotions that can surface. And so if you want to practice this, if you have an injury, like I have a shoulder injury, keep in mind that you may become irritable or agitated, emotional. You may be super relieved and elated. A lot of things can happen. In spirituality, we talk a lot about attachment. And so the soul, the spirit, your energetic pattern tends to hold on to certain ideas, people, really more ideas, like the idea of romance, the idea of success and happiness, can come in a lot of different shapes and forms. But our attachment to the idea is where we tend to, it's kind of like where we tend to hold tension physically, emotionally, mentally. But it's also the other way around. Our formative moments and traumatic moments helped us to become oriented to attach to certain things. And with this practice of like placing your hands on, or placing awareness really on different parts of your body, on different subjects, is going to and can and will, with enough practice, bring up the memories associated with the area of our mental, emotional, physical bodies, three separate bodies, associated with the energy that tends to circulate most around that area, but also the ones that we're holding on to. So if I do like the love handle thing or the shoulder thing, both bring to mind immediately just free association, passivity, inaction, impotence, helplessness, learned helplessness, especially. Look that one up. And a lot of things that tend to be uncomfortable. When it comes to human beings, we are geared towards social desirability and being socially desirable. Instagram, Snapchat, social media, the way or the persona that we project onto the world as who we are, the persona that we project onto reality as to who we are. And I mean, whether or not that's actually true or accurate is where I would say a lot of the growth can tend to happen. I know I need to grow wherever I feel a lot of sensation, and I feel a lot of sensation whenever my ego gets bruised or hurt, or my persona is questioned or challenged, my idea of myself. And that, I mean, that kind of also plays into the other side of, plays into my point, and like the other side of that argument of challenging personas, because because I grew up in the way that I did, my persona was one of being very meek, very doubtful and insecure, and that tends to jive, rub against, create friction. It doesn't really enmesh well with the way that people perceive me. People perceive me according to their own beliefs and experiences. So when people see me, I've been described as an alpha, which I still am challenging myself, the parts of me that immediately refuse to believe that I can be a leader or exemplary in any way, or that I can be, seen to begin with. Because a lot of traumas tend to, circle the drain around being seen, and how that can be immediately misconstrued or interpreted negatively. That's definitely something I've noticed, is the immediacy to which I interpret myself or a situation negatively. And so these exercises of becoming physically, emotionally, and mentally aware of different sensations, different images, different thought patterns, reveals and allows for catharsis, which is to say a huge, if not catharsis, like catharsis for sure, but in line and kind of hand in hand, part and parcel with an epiphany. So an epiphany is just a huge state, like shift in mindset. So if I'm used to seeing myself in an unconfident, I don't think it's a word, in an insecure way because of my past experiences, well, then it's also my job not just to monitor how I respond rather than react to my ego being bruised, but also look for the areas in my persona, in my ego, in my identity, that attach themselves to negative qualities. That is to say, we can get attached to negative self-images. And one of the biggest tools, let's say, in releasing that is simply becoming aware of the moments, the experiences that incepted that idea that maybe we're not worthy, maybe we're not enough, maybe we don't deserve love. And these things to us now are ridiculous to say or to admit to ourselves, that like we don't deserve love, or that we don't deserve to be happy or have positive experiences more than negative, to have some semblance of balance in our lives is ridiculous to us now. But to the part of us that took that snapshot, that mental, emotional, physical snapshot all those years ago, is still living in that experience. So when I place awareness, when I allow or invite these stuck, stagnant emotions, memories, what some call karma, when I invite it to be released, that puts me, kind of like takes me back in time to that younger version of myself, and suddenly I'm in the emotion of it. And that's where people tend to self-medicate or distract themselves rather than simply sit with the emotion and breathe through it, to process it, to not act. Excuse me, because whenever emotion comes up, I reactively seek distraction, then that's going to become habit. And we want to be mindful of the ways in which we react, right? Trauma, the biggest way you can see someone's formative experiences is in what immediately is produced, especially reactively. I feel like this is covering a lot. So just to wrap it up, if you feel like you've hit a plateau, especially, or feel like you're in a rut, this is the time to really look inward. And the way we look inward is to simply feel and be present with what there is to be felt. And the biggest place that can start is with your own body. Okay. I'll be doing more videos on releasing and confronting emotion in the days, weeks, and whatever time it is to come. If you have any thoughts, questions, anything, leave them in the comments below. Like, subscribe. I hope you found value in this. I hope this helps. It's been, this is like, sitting through that emotion is incredibly taxing. It's incredibly challenging to be present with what feels like very powerful, almost like entities that want to stay alive because we've been the ones to keep them alive up until now. And so sitting with and dealing with and loving these different parts of ourselves that we've created out of necessity is incredibly challenging and incredibly worth it. Very liberating. And so that's what I help people with. And so if you want help with that, check out my website. I am victor.e.com. Hope this helps.